everybody, what's going on? I am Jamie Dawn and I am bringing you this celestial wisdom video for the week of January 10th through the 17th, 2021. I'm laughing a little bit because I just recorded the video and thought, or at least thought I did, and apparently it didn't record. So here we go again. And I'm just going to laugh and trust that whatever I said before wasn't what you guys needed to hear. So I will give you this week's energy is big. There's a lot happening. And so bear with me. If you are somebody who likes to watch just the first couple of minutes, great. If you come back and re-listen or pick up where you left off, that's great too. The entire video is filled with a lot of information, but hopefully you can also see and feel, and I'm going to invite you, especially as Mars is now in Taurus, and that's a big theme right now, and it will continue to be a big theme throughout the year, not just Mars in Taurus, but Mars in general, because it will transit through other signs. But right now, I'm going to invite you to practice getting really grounded and to feel inside your body some of the information that you hear. Because if it just stays in the mind and it doesn't come down through the body into the heart and down into the lower chakras, it all just sort of stays in the etheric world and it really has no use other than information. So wisdom comes through knowledge and experience. So I'm going to invite you to experience the video as you can. So I'm going to use trigger words, triggers being emotional responsive things that come up for us. I'm going to use some trigger words for us this week so that you can really hopefully feel. I'm going to ask you when I say words like obsessed or paranoia or power, where do you feel it in the body? That's going to be the real key, because as certain situations are activated this week, because of the way the planets are moving, notice what happens in the body and how you can respond versus react, how you can move the energy around, because we're here, we're very powerful, energetic beings, and we're here to learn how to master that energy. So let me get to it. The overall theme for this week: if it's not broken, don't fix it. Don't create change for the sake of change. Don't create chaos for the sake of chaos. But we're going to be feeling it. We're going to be restless. We're going to want it. It's time. There's places and things in our lives where we've gotten complacent and we need some irritation to get us moving again. So as the week begins, the sun in Capricorn is going to move closer to Pluto in Capricorn, and it's going to invite us to ignite the power. I want you to think of words with the sun is vitality, it's ego, it's sense of purpose, it's creativity, it's opportunities for us to lead with our hearts. And with Pluto, there's the energy of power, transformation. There's also the energy, I see Pluto as being like the rotor-rooter that goes deep into the septic tanks and it cleans out the crap that we don't want to have anymore, or we transform it to become useful, to invite us to face whatever we may be dealing with this week. And it'll be interesting to see, especially because we have our planet Uranus being activated by Mars as it moves closer to its exact conjunction on the 20th. But right now, as it's moving towards this canoodling, we're going to have sudden pieces of information that show up, sudden things in our lives that may get threatened as Mars is being activated here. But let's stick with the sun and Pluto for a second. As we open the week, I would sense that there's going to be situations or information that we get obsessed about, or we become paranoid, and we may feel powerless. Ooh, those are big words. So we're going to try and wrestle something to the ground and figure it out so that we can regain some sense of power. We get our footing back. We're dealing with earth energy right now. So we've set these goals. We have high hopes for 2021, and yet we're still dealing with very similar situations as 2020. Nothing just went away because the calendar year changed. So with this Sun Pluto energy, there could be power struggles in authority. The Sun is about authority and Pluto's about power. We can struggle internally as well if we see what's happening in the external world and we don't agree with it. And our inner authority is saying, I hear what I'm being told I have to do, but I don't want to do it. So how do I come into wholeness? How do I marry these two opposing forces? Even though it's a conjunction, it's going to feel like a struggle inside of us, or it may energize us. We may say, finally, I'm getting what I've wanted. I'm achieving this goal that I think is going to be best for myself, for my family, for the community, whatever it might be. I mentioned the obsession or the paranoia can also kick in, where we think people are coming after us, or we think that there's this big conspiracy going on, and that may be true, but how much power do we have in it? You know, I mentioned the serenity prayer in past videos, and I'll just remind us, you know, it's really important to let go of the control, because we're going to be struggling possibly with some control issues this week, letting go of the things we can't control. And surrender doesn't mean giving up and walking away. It just means stop fighting the things that don't need fighting. The energy is going to be heightened as Mercury's in Aquarius, and it's going to be canoodling with Jupiter and Saturn. So our minds may be racing back and forth, trying to figure out ways that we can come up with new ideas, these radical solutions, because old issues may still be present. And remember, we're in this human form for as long as we are. So the areas of life that we're dealing with don't go away. We're just dealing with hopefully in a more mature way, especially after Saturn has been working us over so diligently. But Mercury is also going to be entering shadow this week before it goes retrograde at the end of the month. So when Mercury starts in its shadow and then goes retrograde, we'll be revisiting subject matters or relationships, things in our lives that all start with the RE. And I'll talk more about that in upcoming videos as we get into the Mercury retrograde time. But we're going to start to see some of the effects now. And we're going to be looking for fresh perspectives. And with Jupiter and Saturn canoodling with Mercury, it's going to be this expansion, contraction, because we're dealing with the Jupiter energy, which says, I need freedom of the mind and let my mind wander wherever it may. I'll be interested to see what kind of stories we come up with. And then Saturn says, hold on, reel that back in. Let's corral that Mustang back into the corral here, you know? And so there's going to be this moment where we go, oh my God, I want this, and I need to have all this freedom of the mind, and I can create all these things. And then Saturn goes, yes, without rules though, without some discipline, how are you going to manifest all these things that you're thinking you want, or all these things that you think can happen? So we have to work in a very different way. Just a really quick reminder, when the mind gets active like that, and then the emotions come on board, you're allowed to think what you think and feel what you feel. There's nothing wrong with that. What we want to do, especially those of us who are practicing being more conscious in our lives, is what action do we take? And our words create worlds, can harm or heal. I've said this multiple times. It's always a good reminder that before we type something, before we say something, we need to check in, and we need to be very conscious about what we're saying and how we're saying it. But don't be afraid to try new things this week. Even with Mercury in shadow and going retrograde, nothing wrong with some newness in it, especially if you're revisiting certain subject matters or relationships. So the other thing we want to work with is, I'll use another trigger word, paranoia again, and thinking that everybody's out to get us. So mindfulness practices are going to be particularly powerful this week. If you have a daily practice, great, keep doing it, deepen it. If you don't, it's a great time to start. This is what I mean by starting something new. You can also get out in nature because we have so much earth energy right now, especially because I'm going to talk about our new moon on the 12th, which is very earthy, and I'll give you a ritual for it. But let me just finish by saying the mindfulness practices or the meditation practices allow you to look for the signs. It allows us to open our mind and be open to receive the ahas, the sudden moments of information or comfort, whatever it is or confirmation, the things that we're looking for that can even activate Pluto in this positive way where it can improve or regenerate our self-esteem. It can regenerate our confidence, and it can help us regenerate maybe the forms of creative expression that we use. So let's talk about this new moon in Capricorn. Again, January 12th. It's an earth sign. So I love doing earth rituals during an earth new moon where you plant actual seeds into the soil. And these seeds represent the intentions that I would be setting. Also, any sort of physical expression that embodies these intentions or sacred objects. Something physical, though, that intangible that you can see, because earth is very physical or very tangible. Something that activates your senses as well. You can put it on an altar. What we want to do is we want to energize these intentions up until the full moon when we start to see the results. And keep asking yourself as you move forward throughout the next couple weeks, are my actions in alignment with my intentions? Because if they're not, I need to figure out either why I set that intention to begin with, or why I'm choosing not to take the action that aligns with my intention. And remember, you have your inner authority, you'll know what to do. Setting goals, vision boards, organizing calendars, taking a more serious approach to achieving what we want this year, that's going to be a big theme for this new moon. I would also say that we're going to be looking at our standards. What standard are we at right now? And then how do we activate a higher standard? You know, it's one of those things of I refuse to settle for anything less than excellence, right? I'll equate it to the gym or working out, or if you're in some sort of exercise routine, very physical of nature, it's like, how much more weight can I push? Or how much more lean can I get? Or how many more miles can I run? Or, you know, things like that. So it's a new standard that we set in our lives. The other thing about this new moon, Mercury, planet of communication, thought, agility in our mind, and Jupiter, planet of expansion, good fortune, luck, extravagance, will be squaring off with Mars, drive, passion, individuality, getting things done independently, with Uranus, right? Talk about that, which is also that independent spirit. So we're going to have these two planets that love independence, and then you're squaring off with Mercury and Jupiter, Jupiter also wanting freedom, but Uranus wanting to do it its own way. And it's all going to happen at this new moon. Well, what can be offered to us at this new moon is sudden surprise information, new offers. Some of you may be looking for jobs or you've applied or you've had interviews and you get to hear about them. It could be that you've been waiting for that right job to apply for. This is a great time to do it. You could get a notice, if you will, of something that you've been waiting for that finally shows up. Because there's a square involved, there could be some frustration or hard work that has to be put into getting this, right? So it could be that you have stiff competition during, like if you're applying for a job, there could be really stiff competition during this time, right? But if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to maybe do something differently with your resume or your interview that you wouldn't normally do, and really being yourself, being authentic and just going, this is who I am. If it's in alignment, great. If it's not, I let it go. That can actually be a beautiful way of using this new moon. But whatever shows up, whatever frustration could be there, it could lead to this big breakthrough that can put us in a better position than we even imagined. So keep that in mind, that these squares or tension moments are there to get us out of our usual, because we don't change something that doesn't need changing or that we're comfortable with, right? That's that don't fix it if it's not broken theme. So let's talk about Mars and Taurus, because this energy is important, especially as it continues to move towards Uranus, and it will make its exact canoodling next week. But last year, the reason I want to talk about is just to remind you, we had Saturn and Mars squaring off with each other last year. Mars was in Aries, Saturn was in Capricorn. Now we have Mars in Taurus. Then in June, it'll be in Leo, and in November, it'll be in Scorpio, squaring off with Saturn in Aquarius each of these months. So I'll give you a little pin on the map for those of you who like to kind of plan your year ahead, because we're in the planning phase. So I'll go into more detail about Mars and Leo and Mars and Scorpio when it comes time. But so here's the thing. Mars and Taurus. Saturn is like, in Aquarius, is like the CEO who has this vision and it wants to be made manifest. And it has all the managers, the directors, the boots on the ground people, the resources in order to have this vision manifested. However, what happens is Saturn CEO says to Mars, director, supervisor, manager in Taurus, hey, go do this. This is how I want it done, da, 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 da. Mars sits around, looks at his clipboard or the computer or whatever, and says, great, I'm happy to accommodate. However, so there's this stop and start, or the start and stop kind of feeling, right? However, Saturn, in order for us to do it, I need more resources. And this is where I think we need to get them. And this is why we need to do it. So Mars is driven to get these resources and implement them. But Saturn now says, we're on a budget. I don't know. We just can't do it. You know, last year with COVID and everything else, we were really strapped and we had to cut resources and we had to go really lean. I don't know if we can add more people, and I don't know if we can get more money for some of the things we want to do. So we're going to have to get creative. That's where Uranus is involved as well. So we have this energy, if you will, of wanting to manifest these big visions and these big goals, but there's still restrictions or there's still limitations that we have to take our time in getting together. And so I'll say this, those of us like myself, who's an extreme optimist and longing to get back into group sessions, I'm part of Nine Gates Mystery School, and some of my roles there, I will be on site every time we're in session. And our first session is going to be the first week of April. At least that's what's scheduled. We're planning as if we're meeting, but we still have no way of knowing what this whole COVID situation is going to be. So it's this like, okay, let's plan, let's get things in place. And we still have to take our time, and we're subjected to whatever the authorities, if you will, dictate we can meet or not. So that's just one example. Now, Mars in Leo in June, so when Mars moves into Leo and it starts squaring off with Saturn and Aquarius in June, we're going to be looking at confidence and adoration, acknowledgement, because Mars in Leo is the one that really wants to be adored in relationships. It wants to be adored in the work it does. It works, it competes too. There's that competitive nature that comes up. And so what we may find is that we've put together all this hard work, and here comes June with Mars and Leo, and we're not getting acknowledged or recognized for all the hard work we did. Well, that can really bruise an ego if we've been attached to, I'm doing this work because I want to be in the spotlight. If that's our motivation, I'm afraid it's going to be pretty shallow. And that come November, when Mars is in Scorpio, there may be a bit of knocking ourselves off that pedestal, and that something else may rise up instead. So it's going to be important for us as the reason I'm giving this to you now, really check in, and this is a perfect time at this new moon, really check in with what's your motivation? What's my motivation? It's not just you, collectively you. What's our motivation for doing what we do? Is it to feed the ego and go, look at me, or is it to be of service? Is it a chance to be able to be a voice for those that maybe need a voice. And if they don't appreciate it, or we don't get some sort of award from it, what's, is that going to stop us from doing the work? Does it make everything just seem moot? Anyways, these are some things we're going to be looking at, because Mars in Scorpio in November, it's going to find us with emotions that are maybe running pretty high and pretty intense. And especially because here we are, we've wanted to implement, or we're back in doing some of the things we wanted to do, and yet we're not having the support that we wanted, or didn't show up quite the way we wanted to. There could be clashes with community or authorities, and we may feel as though we're not appreciated, but also that others just don't get on board with us the way that we had hoped. So it's really important for us to check in now and say, what are my intentions? And then keep coming back to them as we build over the next several months. So as I mentioned, Mars is canoodling with Uranus, and we're going to be, hopefully, this is the good news, because Uranus is going to move direct on Thursday, the 14th. So we'll have so many planets direct. So there's going to be a lot of energy pushing forward. What I like about this particular energy is that we will have the ability to resist manipulation, and sudden moments of disruptive energy can actually benefit us. So we can find ourselves in situations where we're forced to be the voice of reason. We're forced to be the grounded presence. We're forced to be the one who says, hold on, I know everything is sort of going chaotic at the moment. Let's everybody ground, come back into our bodies. Let's just work with this one step at a time. Tempers can really get activated as well during this week, when we're forced to face issues that are dealing with basic human needs, because we're dealing with Uranus and Mars and Taurus. So food, shelter, cost of living, income, what we value could feel threatened by progress. And so it may be where we feel forced to accept or acknowledge or take on some form of innovation, and we're not ready to, because we're in that, it's not broken. Why should I have to fix it? But we're forced to, It's like getting an upgrade. If you have an Apple or Zoom or whatever, and it's saying, hey, there's an upgrade, and you ignore it for a while, but then it forces you to upgrade while you're sleeping or when you least expect it. And then you're like, great, this wasn't at all what I wanted. I didn't want these features. And now I'm having some bugs I have to work out. Those are the kind of things that could come up for us. And it can show up in many different ways. We can face a situation, though, where we look at one area of our life and we go, I've gotten really comfortable here. And the universe goes, curveball, because it has a wonderful way of shaking us out of that complacency, and it forces us to deal with it. But it is for our growth and evolution. And we have this beautiful cosmic loving support from Venus in Capricorn, because she's going to be trining her cosmic lover, Mars, while Mars is canoodling with Uranus. So she can assist us to attract all the necessary resources, relationships, people that we need to feel supported and to achieve the things we're wanting to achieve, and to be able to work with this change in a positive way. Remember that Mars in Taurus is the embodiment of sensuality as well. So when you have Venus and Mars trining in this harmonious aspect to each other, I would imagine that whatever you do around sensuality, and it's not just sex, but that is part of it, whatever you choose to do, it will be of great benefit. It will offer comfort. Anybody who has Mars and Taurus in your chart, you know how in tune that person is in their bodies, and that they can satisfy themselves and others through the senses. There's a very sensual aspect. So we may be pleasantly surprised what we allow ourselves to experience this week in order to satiate our senses. So as we are working towards the end of the week with the energy, Friday the 15th, Jupiter, planet of expansion, is going to be squaring off with Uranus and Taurus as well. So we may expand our ideas and visions. There may be some irritation, though, with others to get them manifested. So pay attention to how we could take on sort of the Braveheart thing. I think of William Wallace, who was he had to go to battle against King Edward I of England, and of course his battle cry was freedom, right? Anybody who's seen that video or that movie, I mean, but you understand that we're wanting more freedom in our lives, and that can really show up on Friday, where it's like, I need out of here. But yet he had to go to battle, and he lost his life, and many men lost their lives in that battle. And yet they achieved freedom. They became an icon for the Scottish people. And at the same time, there was great sacrifice. So we're going to be looking at risk versus reward towards the end of the week. We want freedom. We want this change. But at what risk? Is the risk worth it? As some of you like this phrase, is the juice worth the squeeze? You know, you're itching for change. There may be nervousness or anxiety that shows up, especially towards the end of the week, and that may cause us to react. And what I'm going to offer is, and we have that beautiful support, as I mentioned, with Venus and Mars in earth signs, to ground, to come back to the body, get sensual. You know, if you're feeling particularly anxious or nervous during this week, put on some good music that lets you move your body. Put on some candles and sensual material, clothing. Surround yourself with nature. You know, grab your lover and make mad, passionate love with them, or do some tantric work with them. Just get yourself activated. And if you're single and you don't have anybody, enjoy yourself. You know, really get to know your body. And it's not, again, it's not just sexuality that I'm talking about, but if it's like normally you restrict yourself on, say, what foods you like, try something new, or enjoy your favorite food that just opens the senses and allows you to just go, oh, my body, I love it so much, you know. And so work with this energy and allow yourself to stay fully present, fully grounded, and know that you're fully supported. Speaking of, please find me at jamiedon.com when to listen. I am here to support and to be of service however I possibly can. You guys are my greatest inspirations. You're my teachers, and I'm just so super grateful for you. Thank you for watching this video. I know it's a long one. We have a lot of energy. I want to support you however I can. And if it's not me, please find somebody who can lean in and lift you up, because remember, we're not doing this alone. We have community, we have professionals that really do love what they do, and they're there to support us. So, all right, you guys, like, subscribe, share, comment on these videos. I'm so, so grateful, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Take care, everybody.